welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is dinmachikwe. So in today's video, I will be showing you how to navigate the GEMMA Erasmus Mundus Master's Degree website. As you know, if you're interested in the GEMMA program, the 16th edition is open for applications, and the deadline is for 12th of January 2022. So I thought it wise to do this video because I've gotten a lot of questions from a lot of prospective applicants, and honestly, I cannot answer all your questions at once. So it's usually better and most convenient for me to answer your questions in a video. So let's begin. So this is the GEMMA website. It's masters.ugr.es. As you know, Erasmus Mundus programs are coordinated by what is called a consortium, and each consortium has a number of universities that have partnered up to implement that program. And out of all those universities, you have one university who coordinates the activities of that program, right? So think of it as a project, and you have the project manager and other partners. So that's what this is. So for the GEMMA program, the Master's Degree in Women's and Gender Studies, the coordinating university is the University of Granada in Spain. Then you have other universities who are part of the consortium. You have the University of Oviedo in Spain. You have the Central European University in Austria. You have the University of Bologna in Italy. You have the University of Utrecht in the Netherlands. You have the University of Lodz in Poland, and you have the University of York in the UK, right? So all these universities are the ones that implement the GEMMA program and have been doing that for 16 editions. So when you get on the website, on the homepage, you would see an introduction as to what the GEMMA program is about, the partners that have worked with GEMMA over the years, current partners mostly. Here you can see Rutgers University in the USA. But one thing you should know about the GEMMA program before you make up your mind, because I believe you must have read about the GEMMA program for you to want to apply, but just to put it out there, that the GEMMA program is an interdisciplinary program that touches on different fields. So the GEMMA program has tentacles in philosophy, in anthropology, in sociology, in psychology, so it's interdisciplinary. In this paragraph, you'd see where they said GEMMA is unique in the way that it brings together approaches of feminism from all cardinal points of Europe. Yeah. Yes, so talking about the consortium, something you should know is that all the universities implement the program differently in the sense that in the first semester, all the universities are obligated to offer the same set of courses, which is feminist history, feminist historiography, feminist methodology, and feminist history, right? And from the second semester, you find that universities begin to offer their own their own electives, and each university has programs or areas in women's and gender studies in the social sciences that they are most interested in. And for example, um, in the UK at the University of York, the Women's and Gender Studies program is delivered more as a social science course than here at the University of Lodz, where it's taught as a cultural studies, a humanities course. So do your research about the universities and find out which one you would like to um, apply to, where you would like to go. Another important thing to note is that for all the universities in the consortium, the University of Lords teaches in English. The University of York, obviously, in the UK teaches in English. The University of Utrecht teaches in English. The Central European University teaches in English. Bologna teaches in English and Italian. I think Italian in the first year and English in the second year. University of Granada and at the University of Spain, the course is delivered in Spanish. So you would want to consider all this before you make an application. Right. So now that we're done with the GEMMA program, what it is. So I would like to put it out there that whilst it's important for you to do your research regarding the universities you'd like to choose your most preferred choice, during the application, you should know that these universities, you may not get the university that you chose, right? So an instance is, in my case, I wanted to go to the UK. I must have shared this before, that I was bent on going to the UK. When I applied for Chevening, when I applied for Commonwealth, I was bent on going to the UK. So when I applied for this program, University of York was part of my three choices. So it was University of York and another English-speaking university, first choice, University of York and another English-speaking university, second choice, University of York and another English-speaking university, third choice, right? That was how I did it. And when I eventually got the scholarship, I didn't get any of the I didn't get what I asked for basically. I was given the University of Lodz and the University of Bologna in Italy. So I wouldn't say I know the criteria for placing students in different universities. I wouldn't say I know, but just do your research about all the universities so that in the event that you get a call back from any of them, you will not be surprised. In most cases, I think there's somewhere on this website where it's written that in most cases your selection will be considered. They try to consider your selection or your most preferred choice course program, right? But I don't know how it was previously, but in my case it wasn't that way. And I'm actually thankful for being here. So now let's talk about the application, which is what most of you have been waiting for. So here it says that there are two modalities for participating in GEMMA. One is as an Erasmus Mundus scholarship recipient, and the other is as a self-financed student. As I said earlier, the Erasmus Mundus scholarships for third country and partner country students. If you're still not familiar with these terms, please go on my social media, on YouTube, click the link there and download the scholarship guide. Or you go to Erasmus Mundus Nigeria on LinkedIn or on Facebook and download the scholarship guide. That way you get to understand some of the terms that are being used under the Erasmus Mundus program or project or scholarship, whichever one you choose to call it. And you're also prepared to know what you want and what you're in for. So right now, the scholarships for third country, also known as partner country students, are open, and it's open until 12th. So if you're in Nigeria, my Niger people, apply. If you know that you're interested in women's issues, gender issues, sexuality issues, because people that study this course come from a range of backgrounds. There are people interested in a range of different issues, environmental issues. Please apply. The gendered impacts of sexual violence, gendered impacts of society as a whole. Please put in an application. My classmates come from a wide range of backgrounds. So my classmates come from a wide range of academic backgrounds, from sociology to anthropology to law to international relations. My professors have several degrees in sociology, international relations, cultural studies, and yeah, in another video, I will talk about all the challenges that I've had so far. But let's move on. So here it says, please carefully read the instructions below. Before starting your application, please make sure you have all required documents available in PDF files. So it means that for everything you want to upload on the application form has to be in PDF files, in PDF format, and fill in the application all at once, thus avoiding multiple incomplete applications. Due to system limitations, you will not be able to close and modify your application. So what this is saying is, after going through all the requirements, prepare everything, right? Convert all the documents you need to convert, save them the proper way so you don't mix anything up, merge documents that you need to merge, make sure that they do not exceed the limits for upload. And then when you know that you are ready, you have everything ready, your essays, your everything, you then come to the application form and upload, right? That's what it's saying here, because the application form would not save and ask you to log in when you return. So there's an FAQ section if you have questions about the scholarship. You can check that out much later. And then here for students, this is what you should be concerned about. You have an instructions document for students applying for the Erasmus Mundus scholarship, which is what we're talking about. So I won't delve into making an application as a self-funded student. Then some of the required documents that you need, the language requirements, your motivation letter templates, and the application form itself, right? This isn't for you, so don't focus on it. Now, let's go to some of the instructions for applying to the scholarship. Okay, so let's look at the eligibility information. Are you a candidate who has a university bachelor's degree? If you do, and you studied in Nigeria for 4 years, which is what most of our degrees, which is how long most of our degrees take to be completed, except you're a direct entry student, right? So if you hold a university bachelor's degree, you're eligible. If you're a candidate who has proven knowledge of the language of instruction, you're eligible. So in our case, a lot of us speak English. We've spoken English in school for over 20 whatever years, or 30 something years that we've been in existence. Yes, so candidates must correctly fill in the online application form, including all attachments, and be able to post hard copies of all required documents when requested to do so. So I've talked about the first part of this eligibility, which is filling the application form, right? But the second part, you would worry about this when you eventually get the scholarship. And when you get the scholarship, you will be asked to send your documents. You'll be given instructions on what to do to your documents and how to send them, because they need to confirm that your documents are yeah, so they need to check that the documents you uploaded are legit documents in Niger lingua, and that you have not made any claims that you shouldn't be making, or you haven't tried to be fraudulent. So another eligibility here, eligibility information here says that candidates must submit their application within the deadline. So you cannot submit after the deadline. Candidates must also be able to commit to full-time study during the 2 years period of the course and must be able to complete the compulsory international mobility route. So you need to make sure that you would dedicate 2 years to studying this course, and you also need to make sure that when it's time for your mobility route, for you to move to another university to spend a semester or a year, you wouldn't begin to grumble. You also cannot grumble in the sense that you've signed an agreement that says you would do what is expected of you. So, and okay, well, let me leave that for later. Candidates must indicate the preferences for the mobility route, so you can check the combination you want. Like I stated earlier, I did University of York for all my indicated preferences, and then added other English speaking universities under it. So as a Nigerian, or as someone outside the EU, you must be able to apply for your visa. They do not help with visa application. All those ones, you're the one to run around for that. So you must be able to apply for your visa. So submission of applications. Candidates should complete the application form in all sections. Applications can be completed in any of the following languages of the GEMMA Consortium: English, Italian, or Spanish. So if you speak any of these languages, you can submit an application in any of these languages. Okay. So the next section says that the application form should be submitted online via the GEMMA page. You'd see that in the home page, and I'll show you what it looks like shortly. We've already talked about the deadline. Now to the interesting part, what do you need to make an application? You need a CV, and you don't just need any CV. You are required to create what is called a Europass CV. So a Europass CV is a kind of CV used in Europe, and that most Erasmus programs ask for. The CV has your passport, your photo, a headshot of you, has your language, your skills, your educational background, your work experience, your IELTS breakdown, right? And you can create one on the Europass website. There's a new version now, so you can create one on the Europass website, and then when you're done creating a CV, you can download it. It's very cute. At least the new version is really cute. I find it interesting because you can create, at least for me now, I can create a CV without the Europass logo, and also in different formats when I want to apply for other things that isn't Erasmus or European Union related. So you need your diploma. Here, diploma means your degree certificate. Very important, right? If you don't have your degree certificate yet, but you would have it in, say, before you get your, if you know, you would have it before you get your what's it called, your award, right? You can make an application, but you would need to present, there's this document you need to present that you would finish so time. I would confirm and get back to you on that. But it has to show that you're in, the document has to show that you're in your final year, and also show more like a transcript, right? Issued by the school, but also not a transcript, but it's an academic document from your exam and records. Yeah, so you also need your official transcript of academic records. Because previously they said your degree should be equivalent to 120 ECTS, which is their own version of credit load. And in most cases, our degrees are equivalent to, our BA degrees are equivalent to 120 ECTS. So, exactly. So if you do not have your transcripts yet, you can submit a grade certificate, an average grade certificate. Then you need a language certificate for your home university and a language certificate for your mobility university. Now, what does this mean? The language university, the language certificate, I beg your pardon, that you need for your home university. So assuming you picked the University of York for your first choice, and then your mobility university is going to be Central European University. It means that all that's needed for these two universities will be English, right? So you apply, you submit your IELTS test results. On the website, you would see the minimum scores required for all the universities, and if you know what universities to choose basically. But if you are going to choose, say, University of York and the University of Granada, it means that you will be uploading two language certificates. The first one in English for the University of York, where you will be taught in English, and the second one for the University of Granada, where you will be taught in Spanish. Yeah. So you also need a motivation letter. We will talk about this shortly because there's a template on the website that that can be very helpful. You need a photocopy of your passport. So if you do not have a passport, it's a good time to get one before you put in an application because it's part of what you're going to send in as an applicant. You need a proof of residence at the time of applying. So for this, you can get it at the High Court in your state of residence. You can use your job offer letter if it has all the necessary information. To get more information about this, please refer to the Erasmus Scholarship Guide. You would find more information about this and templates on what a proof of residence should look like. You also need letters of recommendation, people that can speak to your strengths as someone applying for a scholarship, as a graduate student, a prospective graduate student. You could it could be an academic mentor or an academic professor, someone who has taught you before, who can speak to your strengths academically. If you've been out of school for a long time, it could be a professional recommender or referee. Yeah, so let's see what they say about it. Okay, I guess we'll see that later. So in the supporting documents area, when you're filling the application, you would find that there's this small box that says additional information and additional documents. So for additional information, you can add any information you think would help your chances that has not been stated, explicitly stated in your motivation letter or any other part of the application, right? For supporting documents, you can merge any publications you may have, any certificates of participation in conferences and congresses, any course you might have taken related to women's and gender studies, any professional certificates you hold, any additional references that you feel speaks to another strength you have that your recommenders, the ones you highlighted in your application, haven't spoken to, and anything at all that you want to add, right? So I'm tempted to tell you what I added, but I think you'll figure this out. So let's proceed. So once you make an application, you would get a notification with an email notification with a reference number, and at this point you do not need to send any hard copies of your documents until you hear back from them. And you should know that when you do hear from them and you are fortunate enough to have gotten the scholarship, you would need to undergo what's called legalization of documents. For us in Nigeria, it's called legalizing of documents. So legalizing of documents means that you have to take your, well, authentication and legalization. Authentication would have to be at the Ministries of Education and Foreign Affairs. And then when you're done at the Ministries of Education and Foreign Affairs, you now take your documents to the embassy, the embassy of the country that um, you have been sent to, or you have gotten, or you were um, given, whatever, right? So, but you shouldn't worry about this now, but have it at the back of your mind that at some point you would need to certify your documents. Because if you do not do it, you cannot get a visa. You cannot get a visa. You cannot complete your registration process as a student um, under the program. And when you get here, it's also going to be problematic. So, yeah. So for your letters of recommendation, who should write you a letter of recommendation? So it could be a professional or academic professional or or yeah, it could be a professional or academic, someone you have worked with or somebody that has taught you, that can speak to your strengths, like I said earlier. So what should the person focus on? The person should focus on how long they've known you and in what capacity, the nature and class of the degree or degrees that you already have, and that you're expected to have before the course begins. Um, they should be able to talk about the application, the achievements that you've had, or the progress that you have made compared to those of your peers. They should um, talk about how whatever professional qualifications or professional experiences that you have would contribute to your suitability in the course. They should also talk in general terms about how and why you are suitable to uh, to get the scholarship, right? So now this is the interesting bit. What's the selection criteria? So for a lot of programs like the Chevening Scholarship, I refer to Chevening a lot because I did it twice. I applied twice. For the Chevening Scholarship, it's important for you to have work experience, right? But this isn't exactly like that. Now, you are selected based on out of a score of 100, and out of a score of 100, 50% goes to academic excellence. So your motivation letter should highlight what you studied previously, some of the courses related to women's and gender studies that you have done, um, some other courses or training that you have um, been part of, whether online or on site, related to women's studies, gender studies, feminist studies, um, any extra degrees that you might have had in the last 3 years, whether online or on site. So make sure you highlight all that in your uh, uh, motivation letter, because this is going to be a rigorous academic process. I don't even want to get into it. Academically, it will be rigorous, and they need to know that you would not collapse or break down or um, throw in the towel. No, they need to know that you're up to the task and that the monies that they would be spending on you would be worth it. right? They want to be able to gauge their return on investment. So that's for academic excellence, some of the things that you should talk about. Then we talk about um, any prior knowledge or professional experience, any social skills that you have. This takes 40%, so 90% is already gone. So under this section, they are looking at you should highlight. I'm using an opportunity to tell you some of the things you should highlight in your motivation letter. So you should talk about any management position that you've held, whether it was in school or during a volunteering experience or during a full-time role. Some of the um, things that you've managed, some of the things you've coordinated, what your social skills are like, um, what you were able to achieve in those roles that you occupied, right? Remember, always tie everything down uh, 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 to women's and gender studies, right? So you also should talk about um, how your professional experience, if you've volunteered with an NGO or you've worked in an international organization as a research assistant, as a programs officer, how that relates with the GEMMA program or the GEMMA study plan that you have proposed, because it's also going to be important for you to talk about why this degree is important to you at this time, why this course, right? So, yeah. So you talk about um, GEMMA as part of your professional career or professional growth or project. You talk about the relationship between GEMMA as a field of study and your background. So if you have a background in, say, law, you can talk about how you took a course in human rights and it spurred you into action. You began to see things differently, or uh, uh, you began to embrace different perspectives that differ from yours. Um, yeah, so it could be human rights, it could be international law, how international law opened your eyes, international law and a topic or a module on international conventions opened your eyes to um, the state of women and girls globally. Yeah, so something like that, you can make that, you can create that relationship. A lot of times we have a lot of experiences, but creating the relationship is where the problem comes in. So you can talk about any creativity, innovation, anything that you have done outside of the box. What did you create? Did you start a project? Even if it lasted for 2 weeks, what was it? What were you able to do? How many people were you able to how many people were you able to impact? Yeah. So all these things would add up to 40% of your 100% total score. So now we've talked about 50% here, 40% here, that's 90%. So we have 10% left. Now they want to know um, if you have the language of instruction at your first choice university. Here it takes five the score here is over 5. and then the language of instruction at your mobility university over 5. So if you happen to choose the University of York here, and what you uploaded here was a Spanish certificate, you've complicated things for yourself, because it means that you can only speak Spanish, you cannot speak English. So why did you choose a university where English is going to be the language of instruction and not Spanish? I don't know if that makes sense. So um, all these things make up to your total score and will determine if you make it into the scholarship or not. So we've talked about the languages of instruction. So if you haven't written the IELTS test, please do. I know that there's a lot of concern, right? Regarding, oh, we've been taught in English for the past, since we were in kindergarten. So why should we submit an English test? In fact, these people colonized us, so why should we submit an English test? I get that argument. I hear you. I hear you because it's a lot of money. It's time it's time consuming, it's nerve-wracking, it's all these things into one, but you know what you want. The advantage for me of writing the English test when I did was because it did not restrict me from making applications in the last 2 years. I was able to see applications and I was able to see opportunities rather and put in applications without being worried of, oh, I do not have an English test. And then the GEMMA program does not offer waivers, English test waivers. None of the universities do. Unlike some Erasmus programs that are coordinated by a university in the UK, GEMMA doesn't. So if you're going to apply, you need to have your TOEFL, your IELTS, Cambridge proficiency test or equivalent, right? So there's a web page where you can find what each university accepts. So here it says that you will hear back from GEMMA by April 2022. So when you put in an application by 12th of January, please go about your business. Applying for anything is nerve-wracking. Trust me. You will just keep refreshing your emails every day, knowing that they said to reach back in April. So I get it. So the last section says when you hear back from them in April and you do not think that you deserve the response you got, their decision, you can appeal within 7 days. So that's for the selection criteria. That's that. So now we'll look at the required documents. I think we've talked about this. Yeah, we've talked about this. And all these documents are mandatory. So you need your CV, degree certificate, also known as a diploma, your official academic records, an average grade certificate, a language certificate, 2 language certificates if you're choosing 2 universities that speak 2 different or that teach in 2 different languages. a copy of your passport, and then proof of residence, your motivation letter, very important, your recommendation letters, and then other documents that you feel would help your chances. This is the page for language requirements, information, what each university requires. So you can go through this later. So now there's a template for the motivation letter. This is just a template. You don't have to follow this to the T. Yeah? And you don't have to just fill in the boxes and submit. It could be here as a guide. If you want to fill in the boxes, if it's better for you that way to keep your thoughts organized, fine. If you want to use it as a guide and you want to go outside of, you want to do this and more, fine, but you shouldn't exceed 1 or 1.5 pages. There's actually no limit. There's no word limit. So, but make sure it's not too long. Otherwise, it will become boring to read. So, your motivation letter should start with. Oh, there was something I was going to say about your recommendation letters. Please, they should not be addressed to whom it may concern. They should be addressed to the selection committee, not to whom it may concern. And please make sure that your recommenders are people that are tech savvy, so that when they receive an email to upload a recommendation letter for you, they would not mistakenly decline. So, yeah. So back to this, your motivation letter should begin with this. Dear Prof. Adelina Sanchez Espinoza, GEMMA coordinator, I would like to apply for participation in the 16th edition of the Erasmus Mundus Master's degree in Women's and Gender Studies, right? I don't think I used this, but you can add it if it's a good prompt for you. But this is just a template, like I said. Professor Adelina Sanchez is the coordinator of the GEMMA program at the University of Granada, Spain. So she's the one you're addressing the letter to. Now, some of the things I had talked about, some of the things you should talk about when writing your motivation letter, when I was speaking about the selection criteria. So here, you should talk about your academic background, like we said earlier. You talk about your previous experience, your academic experience, your professional experience, your vocational experience in women's and gender studies. So did you, when you left school, did you become a researcher, a women's studies researcher, a feminist researcher? Did you work in the professional space? Did you volunteer? Did you lead a project? What did you do? Then you briefly explain why you are interested in being accepted in the GEMMA program. This is where you need to show off if you have done your homework. So do you even know what the GEMMA program is about? Do you know the programs that are being offered? How will those programs help you? So an instance is, if you're choosing the University of York, for instance, why are you choosing the University of York? Is there a particular course at the University of York that ties into your academic experience, your professional experience, or your vocational experience, or your career objectives, or your career goals, what you're trying to achieve? So say that at the University of York, they teach a course, I think the last I checked, they teach a course on gender violence, right? and you've done a lot of work on gender-based violence. You could talk about how the course on gender-based violence and the professor that teaches it um, 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 piques your interest because you've done a lot of work, and upon completion of the gem you've done a lot of work in blah blah blah, and on completion of the program you would like to continue work in this area, right? Then you can explain how you consider that your studies in this master's program will contribute to your present or future professional career. So if you intend going back to the role that you're playing now, say a you're working in an NGO, if you intend going back, you can talk about how you intend occupying, improving your skills, that the GEMMA Master's Program would help you improve certain skills, and that you could list the skills, and that these skills would help you take up a more senior role upon completion of the program for better impact, right? If you want to transition to a different area, say you were studying in law and you were working in law and you want to transition into advocacy or activism or development, you could talk about how the GEMMA program would help you make that transition seamlessly without any hassle. So yeah, lastly, I'm going to show you what the application form looks like. Once you've gotten your documents ready, you come to the application form, you type your name, so let's read the information. Before filling out this form, please read carefully the general information about GEMMA and check the selection criteria for scholarships and the instructions on how to apply. Once your application is submitted, you will receive a confirmation email with a copy of your application form. So, in filling your personal details, you start with your surname, your other names, Chidinma Favor, your date of birth, let's say 7th December 2021. I'm female. I'm from Nigeria. Your passport number could be AZ12345. Your email address, janedoe@gmail.com. Your telephone number. I usually like to start with the area code. So 234-81000000. Your username is optional. Your Skype username is optional, but I think you should add it. If you have one, add it. There's no harm in adding it. Your current address, how long you've stayed here, your country of residence. So your current address could be Beggar Junction. Oh my god. Let's think big. Transcore Hilton, Abuja. You've been staying here since 1979, that you were born, to 2021. Your country of residence is also Nigeria. This is assuming that you're staying in Nigeria. Your permanent address is Could also be Transcorp Hilton, or it could be that you live in Transcorp Hilton, but you have your permanent residence in Onitsha. Number of children, do you have any? If you do not have, type 0. Do you have any special needs? Mental health, physical disability? This is where you can type it in. Now the next section is your academic and professional information. So I have a BA in International Studies and Diplomacy. At Benson Idahosa University. Where the degree was delivered, Nigeria. Institution and country where the degree. Yep, Benson Idahosa University, Nigeria. Benin City, Edo State, Nigeria. When was it issued? It was issued in 2018. What was your CGPA? So let's say your CGPA was a 3.0 over 4.0. So here you talk about your present position. Your present position if you're working and where you work. So let's say you are a what should we write? Let's say you're a researcher at a women's research institute on what? On family planning. Okay. Then here, this is assuming that you have your IELTS or TOEFL certificates with you. You can now fill in what's on your certificate. So you'd have to go online to check what the CEF, this Common European Framework of your test results is. So if you have a 7.0, I think that's C1. If you have a 7.0 in speaking, I think that's a C1. So let's assume you have 7.0 in all the areas: speaking, writing, reading. C1. So here you would have to talk about the title of the attached English language certificate. So the attached English language certificate is the International English Language tests system, IELTS. So if you have another one, if you have, say, Spanish test result, you can add it here. Spanish ... So if you don't have any of these and you only have an English certificate, this also means that you've chosen only English speaking universities, right? So Always keep that at the back of your mind. You could leave this blank, or you could just type not applicable. So scholarship information. If you have been granted a scholarship in the last 3 years, please provide further details. So if you graduated in 2018 or 2019 and you had a scholarship to finish your university degree, bachelor's degree, you can add that the University of Nsukka undergraduate certificate, undergraduate scholarship from 2014 to 2018. This is an instance, right? So this is what determines everything. So please be very careful. Do you wish to apply for an Erasmus Mundus scholarship? Yes, you do. So make sure you click it. Yes, you do. See, that's yes in Spanish. Yes, you do. Because if you leave it at no and you submit your application, it means that you would not be considered for the scholarship at all. So this other question says, have you carried out your main activity, studies, work, etc. for more than a total of 12 months over the last 5 years in the EU, EEE, EFTA? So if you fall under this category, it means that you cannot be considered as a partner country student. You would be considered as a program country student from Europe, because you'll be considered as a program country student because you have stayed in Europe for over 12 months in the last 5 years. So no, a lot of us have not crossed the border before. So yeah, are you currently applying for any other Erasmus Mundus scholarships? If yes, how many? Applications to more than 3 different Erasmus Mundus scholarships will be automatically rejected. So Erasmus allows you to make applications to at most 3 programs. If you apply to more than 3, your application will be disregarded. So if you're applying to, say, related programs, you could say, yes, I am applying to NOHA. Make sure you type it out in full. And M family. So the GEMMA application plus NOHA and M family makes it 3, right? If you're not applying to any other Erasmus program, you say, no, you're not, and leave it at that. So this is the area I've been talking about. So I'm going to assume that a lot of us only have English test certificates, right? So we would choose English-speaking universities. University of York, first priority for home university, and for mobility, another English-speaking university. For second priority, you could switch that, Central European University and the University of York. For third priority, you could do University of York and the University of Lodz. So this way you have only English-speaking universities. Remember, you only speak English. So don't go and choose a university that you like based on that you like it. So additional information. I would advise that you fill in this section, right? I would strongly advise that you fill in this section. So please describe your academic background and relevant experience. So I believe you must have written something about this in your motivation letter. Here you can use the opportunity, since it's 150 words, to expatiate on your academic background and your relevant experience. You could also talk about your motivation. So if you have been all academic in your motivation letter, you can make it personal here and talk about, say, a personal experience that made you realize that you needed to advocate for women and girls, for instance, in Nigeria, or that you were volunteering with an organization and there was a project on child marriage, and you encountered a lot of girls who had been married off to men, girls who were 9, 10, they were not old enough to give consent, and you decided at that moment that you wanted to, something like a personal experience. Everybody has a story. Tell it. So here you talk about your research interests. What would you like to research? Would you like to, because of the experience you had here, meeting girls who had been married off, child marriage, right? You could come here and say you want to research the prevalence of child marriage in your states. If you're from Ogun State, in Ogun State, and how that has affected, that's how that affects adult women. Something similar, 150 words, right? And then you're done. So additional information. What can you add here? Here you can add why you are applying for the scholarship, why you need the money, why you cannot be a self-funded student. You can add that here. Then this is where you upload all the documents that we talked about previously. So you're talking about your CV, your Europa CV, your degree certificates. Remember, I would advise PDF though, but you can upload in PDF, docs, text, image, GIF, JPG, JPEG, RTF. So your CV, your degree certificate, your transcripts, or average grade certificate, your English test certificates. We're not going to touch this because we didn't fill it in earlier. Your motivation letter. Like I said, I would advise you upload these things in PDF. Your motivation letter, if you finish typing it, convert it to PDF, because you don't know the Microsoft Word the person has, so that they will not open your document and the thing would turn upside down. Some documents do that. Yeah, so your proof of residence, your passport data page. And then here, the information, your first referee's contact detail, right? The person's name, surname, position. So let's say Odogu Wine. Her position is professor. Preferably, please use their official email address, the person's official email address. So, assuming that the person teaches at the University of Nsukka, the email address could look like at unn.edu.ng. Then the person's phone number. Remember, they are going to receive an email, so let them know way ahead of time. You do the same for your second referee, and then here you can upload additional documents. So you're talking about documents that you haven't talked about. You might have pointed to somewhere in your entire application, but you didn't really talk about something that would give you an edge, or that would really explain what you are about, you know. So it could be a publication, it could be a certificate of participation, it could be a course, a course on gender-based violence that you have done, or a training certificate, or a professional experience certificate, or anything basically related to the course. You can merge them in one PDF file and upload. Yeah. Then the last thing here is they will try to confirm that you are not a robot. So 4 plus 7 is 11. You click that in and then you hit submit. Yes, so this has been a long video. I do hope that it's helpful. Subsequently, I will try to share my personal experiences in the course and also share information as to what came after, like the interview, the legalization process, the sending of documents process, and everything in between. I will try to share information about that. But for now, please, I wish you all the best in your applications. Please try to submit your application not way ahead of time, but before the 12th. You can submit on the 11th or on the 10th. Just make sure you have enough time to read through and really pour yourself into the entire application. Okay, I wish you all the best. As a Nigerian woman, I am actually excited to hear that a number of you are interested in the course. So because my course is daunting, it's laborious, I wouldn't be able to respond to any messages, any personal messages. That is why I have taken an hour and some minutes to do this video. So please go through it and take action. If you have any questions, you can type it in the comment box and I will try as much as possible to respond. And that way other people can also learn from your question and my answer. And yeah, everybody's happy. I would really like to see more African representation, more Nigerian representation in the program. So please do apply, right? And make sure you come here with an open mind. But yeah, all the best. Bye.